Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Regista Football Podcast. My name is Jack, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend Ben. How are you doing, sir?
Jack, I think I said this yesterday to you, but I want to come back and say I'm good. I'm doing a little better than I was doing yesterday. We are
Fair.
recording the day after Arsenal Wolves. Wolves Arsenal, but yeah, I think I'm doing okay. But I'm excited to get into this weekend and the upcoming games.
Me too, yeah. So we have a pretty packed show for you guys today. First, we're going to kick off the show by previewing Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest this coming weekend. We're then going to do an Arsenal block. We thought it made more sense to review Arsenal in its totality from one thing to the other instead of split it up. So we'll take a look back at Arsenal Wolves and what transpired there yesterday, and then we're going to go into previewing the North London Derby, which is a huge game at the weekend. How does that sound to you, Ben?
Let's get into it.
Cool. So let's talk about Forest Liverpool then. So from my perspective, as an overview for this game, Liverpool need to win this game. We need to continue momentum, keep building momentum coming into like the final last few games of the season, especially where the top 5 or top 4 race is concerned. Forest are in a bit of a weird situation as they've managed to somehow get rid of Sean Dyche and hire their 4th manager in a year, Ben. Absolutely crazy. Firstly, what do you think of that situation?
I think it's just wild that you're going to go with a 4th manager,
I
and
know.
like at this stage when Sean Dyche truly was doing decently.
He was good.
Yeah, I don't think it was a footballing decision. I think it was a personal decision, whatever happened behind the scenes. And I think it's gonna ultimately, I don't know what it's gonna do. I thought initially it's gonna hurt the Wolves, but or sorry, wow, Forest. Man, I have Wolves on my head. I
Wolves
think
on your brain.
yeah, it's eating at me. I thought it was eventually gonna I think initially I was like, if you're gonna lose someone like Sean Dyche, it's gonna really hurt Forest for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Vitor could be the guy, and I know we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we'll get stuck into like the reasons they could have potentially made this decision, but in terms of Forest's overall situation, they're actually really healthy at the moment. Their only injury is Chris Wood, which is a long-term injury. I don't see him coming back anytime soon. I don't know what his injury was actually. I couldn't find it when I looked, but either way, they're pretty healthy apart from that. In the last 5, Ben, they've done quite well, I'd say, for a relegation team. 1 win, 1 loss, and 3 draws. So out of 15 points, they've picked up 6 points from 15. Kind of what you would expect from like a relegation side ultimately. In that period, they actually did beat Brentford 2-0, which is a pretty impressive win from my perspective. Brentford are looking really, really good at the moment. And
Yeah, I mean,
then,
if coming into like the beginning of the season, they were not doing that well, right?
no,
They were in the relegation zone for a while, and they've kind of dug themselves out of it. So in
yeah,
decent
it's
form.
true. And it's funny actually because I think they came into the season with Nuno, and then they ended up getting rid of Nuno and then hiring Sean Dyche. And now they're actually it was Nuno then
And
Ange,
yep.
then Sean Dyche, and now Vitor Pereira is fucking wild. In that 5 game run, they did get a draw with Arsenal, if you remember. That was the 0-0 draw, and they got
Mhm.
battered against Leeds 3-1. I watched that game, and Leeds don't look like one of those relegation candidates at the moment for me. So it's kind of understandable that with their style, like a super aggressive counter-attacking style, they kind of did quite well against Forest, especially how important that game was in terms of like a bottom of the table clash.
Mhm.
How else are they doing? So they are in the Europa League. They finished
Yeah.
13th. Probably the biggest win they've had in that competition was their 2-0 win against Porto, which
Mhm.
is, I think that's a big win for Forest. Like that's one of their bigger European wins they've had in their, quite frankly, their modern era. So it's quite
Yeah.
impressive. And a funny fact is they are actually playing right now against Fenerbahce.
That's
Um,
really funny. Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, they're 20 minutes in against Fenerbahce 0-0.
exactly. So maybe they get through. I think that's to get access to the next round. So let's see
Mhm.
how they do there. But ultimately, I think they'll want to prioritize this competition to agree. It's a really good opportunity for Forest. Let's talk a bit about the manager issues then. So my first take is I think the sacking of Sean Dyche was kind of harsh
Mhm.
overall, and we did touch on that just now. The reason I say that ultimately is because he was running at 1.2 points per game, which kind of equivalent to 46 points on a typical Premier League season,
Yeah.
which ultimately would make them safe. At least from my perspective, they couldn't have got rid of him because of underperformance. Because what was his objective when he came in, right? Like keep us up.
Mhm.
And across all competitions, he was running at 1.4. For reference, Liverpool in the Premier League is 1.6, so they're not huge off of Liverpool's form this season. I think it goes down to why did they choose to get rid of Daesh? I think it ultimately comes down to style. But in that regard, then why hire him in the first place, Ben?
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you bring him in? Why wouldn't you have waited for someone else? I know that you
Yeah,
did bring in Deich before Pereira was available, so maybe it was just bring him in, stabilizing, and then this. It could have been a long term plan. Maybe you actually wanted Vitor. That
I
doesn't make
think
sense, but
no.
you know,
Ultimately we know their owner's a bit of a head case, and I think
yeah,
this is one of those situations, quite frankly. But they have hired Vitor Pereira. In his first year with Wolves, I think why they've done this is they saw a clear turnaround from when he took over from Gary O'Neill at Wolves. 32 points from 18 at the end of that season. He was running at 1.78 points per game, which is higher than Liverpool running at. So that's like top four form ultimately.
yeah, that's
Um,
wild.
at the end, I wouldn't say they were just safe, but ultimately they cemented form, like I said, that was upper mid table, so they were doing quite well. He also established like a decent style of play. So instead of defending deep like they were before under
Hmm.
Gary O'Neill and counter-attacking, they were defending in a mid block and kind of implemented this really good pressing structure under Pereira.
Yeah.
But what I want you to do for me, Ben, is give me like an overall summary of post Gary O'Neill going into the Pereira era and some stats
Yeah,
around that.
yeah, yeah. Going into the overall summary, like they had a 1.7 point per game run, as you
It's
mentioned,
good.
right? Like defensive metrics doing really well. Overall, they were positionally a 3-4-2-1, so three in the back, crowding in that midfield and getting people up forward. Really, I think they secured survival very early on.
They did.
And so if we get into the team performance before and after, before O'Neill and then under Pereira, we'll go into three different big metrics. We're going to go into shots faced, shots on target faced, and then goals conceded. Like these are very much more defensive kind of
Yeah.
points here, mainly because that's what they are needing to do. They need to defend their position in the league. Shots faced first, Jack. I think we have before when we have O'Neill. What do we see there for shots faced?
So under Gary O'Neill, they were facing 14.6 shots per game, which is pretty unsustainable, to be honest.
That is, yeah, that is insane. That's an insane
Yeah,
number of shots faced. Under Pereira, they're at an 11.1, so that's a 3.5 decrease in shots faced overall.
that's a good reduction, and you can see that with the shots on target faced as well. Under O'Neill, they were dealing with 5.7 shots on target faced per game.
Yep. Under Pereira, they were at 3.6.
So like another reduction there. That's like a
Yep.
you can see how he has made them more solid to not give away as high quality chances, and you can see that with goals
Yeah.
conceded as well. So, but goals conceded per game under O'Neill was 2.5.
And then 1.3 under Pereira.
Huge difference. It's almost half, dude. Like, and you can
Yeah.
you can see where I think you can see where Forrest is thinking, or how the owner is thinking. I think he's thinking like, okay, this guy, we can bring him in. He can cement like a more, I'd say, sustainable or consistent style of play. I feel
Mhm.
bad for Sean Dyche ultimately because I think because of how he plays, he gets a really bad rap in this instance. But
Yeah.
I think Pereira is looked at. He can cement the style of play. They'll be better off the ball. Ultimately, concede less goals and be able to establish something more sustainable. Do you
Yeah.
agree with
Absolutely.
that, or
I absolutely do agree. I think what I really enjoyed doing and what I'm looking forward to doing for Forest in a few weeks is let's get back to this conversation and see
yeah,
what they look like in the same way we did it with Carrick um, and Amaron?
Ramarim
Yeah, for Amaron for United. I think it'll be really interesting to see how we can compare Pereira here at Forest versus Dyche. You know, I think it'll be a
for
good way to
sure?
go into it. But what do you think are going to be the keys to victory here for Forest against Liverpool?
Good question. I don't think they can afford to concede early. I think they need to either defend a lead or defend nil nil. Ultimately, I think
Mhm.
conceding early for them would be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think if they concede early, I think Liverpool is going to do the thing that
Yeah,
Liverpool does, and they're just going to keep going after them.
me too. I guess the second one then would be take advantage of set piece situations. Although in
Yep.
truth, they are bottom of the league in terms of set piece XG this year, so I
Jeez.
don't really see them being able to be able to do that. And overall, I'd say Liverpool have definitely improved in the last few weeks on defensive
Hmm.
set pieces. So I'm not feeling like that's a big frailty for Liverpool at the moment. Touch wood.
Yeah, yeah.
Ultimately, coming on to do not concede early, defend deep, and frustrate Liverpool,
Hmm.
make Liverpool create mistakes in their final third so they can counterattack. Forest is still a very good counter-attacking side. They have a lot
Yeah.
of pace on the wings, and ultimately they need to use that space out wide to exploit Liverpool's fullback width. Liverpool's fullback width can change a lot. You
Hmm.
saw during City at times where Kirkes was basically playing as an inverted fullback, trying to
Hmm.
control the ball, and at other times he was very, very wide. So in that in the position of kind of changing, or in the position of like changing how Liverpool structure works, because of the speed of their wide players, I think they can exploit that type of fullback width from Liverpool's perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
I think that would be a big key to victory for them.
Yeah, I think. I mean, a key to victory. We do talk about keys to victory, but do you think a draw for Forest is going to be a victory for them in this match?
That's a good result, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think as a team that is potentially fighting relegation, you're looking at a point at home to a big side, quote unquote big side, like team that are fighting for top four. I think that's a good result for them ultimately. I mean, they
Yeah.
battered us at Anfield, if you remember.
I do remember that. That was flabbergasted, but those were two different teams. So I think
Very,
it'll be interesting. Let's should we jump into Liverpool and talk a little about them?
yeah. So injury wise, not much has changed since we last spoke. Ultimately, Isak is expected back into training into 2 to 4 weeks or so, which is cool. We should see
Hmm.
him probably come back into the first team late March, I would say. So hopefully
Okay.
he manages to kind of gain some momentum at the end of the season and continues to build fitness going into preseason next year. I hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Frimpong back next week, which is a big plus. Ultimately, because we have no bloody right backs, so him coming back, hopefully he can stay healthy. And then talking about right backs, Bradley is still dealing with that long term injury. I'm not sure if he'll be back this season, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Same as Endo. Endo is also now on the long term injury list. Ultimately, thinning down our options when it comes to not only like squad depth, but we are really thin at right back at the moment,
Yeah,
which is
I
not
feel
ideal.
like Liverpool's right back is cursed, like Arsenal's left back is cursed. Like we cannot keep a left back healthy at Arsenal, and it seems like you've been touched with that bad juju here at Liverpool.
Yeah, you guys can keep that. We don't want to be dealing with that stuff, but we are, and it really is what we're doing. In terms of form, how Liverpool have been in the last 5 games, 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Despite the loss to City, though, I do feel pretty upbeat about this game. Like, from what I've seen from a stylistic perspective, I have seen the improvement that I was calling for some weeks ago. Liverpool looked much more decisive when they're in the final third. And ultimately, I think for a game like this specifically, I think Liverpool showed what they needed to win games like this. Like the nature of how physical that Sunderland game was, and
Hmm.
how well our midfield handled not only winning goals, but just the overall physical battle, second balls, dealing with long balls. I think Liverpool did very well. And I do expect Forest to kind of play that similar way to how Sunderland played against us. Long balls, direct, trying to hit us on the counter attack. And that that Sunderland game should set us up nicely for a game like this.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when we were talking about Sunderland, watching that game. You actually mentioned something about Florian Wirtz and just his physicality and how that's
Yeah,
evolved. When like what is different about Florian?
I mean
What's bringing him into this
it's
game?
a great question. Florian has put on like 14 pounds or 14 kilos or whatever of muscle, which is
That is
insane.
wild. Yeah.
Liverpool, but whatever you're feeding him over there, give me some of that because I probably can't afford to put on any weight, but I'll be a big muscly man like Florian Wirtz potentially. But yeah, bunch of weight he's gained, and you could see that, especially not just out of possession, but you can see that in possession as well. He's much harder to knock off the ball at this stage. I think
Hmm.
he's also just become more aware of how the league plays. Like you have way less time, if you know what I mean. So I think it's
Yep.
it's important that he's managed to do that, and Liverpool have kind of helped him along that journey. Ultimately, I think overall, from Vert's perspective, I think you're now going to see him go from strength to strength and show a lot of what we thought we were getting initially.
I think, yeah, yeah. I think it'd be good to see like how he is going to be. really performing in this game. And overall, like in that offensive shape, if he is kind of given that room to roam, the
Yeah,
license to move around freely, make those run ins, and like honestly, he holds the ball so well.
he does.
I think he's going to be he. I think this season is the game changer for Liverpool in the same way Mo was last season.
I think it's simple, isn't it? Like, if you can get your best players combining with one another on a regular basis, you're more likely to win football matches. And that's
Yeah.
not any different here. Speaking of best players, let's speak about how Liverpool are going to line up in this game, at least from my perspective. We don't have much in terms of flexibility when it comes to our back line at the moment. We have no centre backs and we have no right back. So I could see similar back five to what we've seen this season. So Allison, Kirkhead to Bosley, and then the two kind of stalwarts at centre back, VVD and Ibu Konate. I'd like to see Mack and Grav in this game in the pivot, and then Verts to then play centrally with, as you said, a bunch of license to roam. And then ultimately, I think it's going to be Gakpo, Hugo Ekitike, and Mo Salah. Really similar type of starting 11 we've seen for most of this season, but that's what I expect Liverpool to go with, Ben.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It seems the most solid defensive back, like the most consistent midfielders. I think as well, like that Gakpo starting in the left, even though you're not a huge fan of it, I think that's kind of what they gotta go with for right now.
Yeah, kind of don't have much of a choice, to be honest. Rio, like I've touched on in these podcasts before, I just think he's too young and inexperienced for games like this. And you can see it, like, if when he does come in, he has like a lot of good flashes because he is a really talented footballer. I think he's just a bit young, a bit too inexperienced for games like this. So you're going to have to use Gakpo in that position until we can either find a replacement for someone to actually compete with Gakpo.
Yeah.
Talk me through Liverpool's keys to victory, Ben. So how can Liverpool win this game?
I mean, honestly, as we mentioned, with Forest shouldn't concede early. Liverpool need to score
Yeah,
early and make sure that like Forest is fighting for the next goal.
yeah,
Break down their shape. Forest does sit in, and then they like to counter, so make them like just stretch them a little bit more. Utilize those overloads in wide areas and combat that like compact low block that
yeah,
Forest does. Just kind of continue stretching them, and and as I talked about it, like give Florian Wirtz the ball. The ball sticks to his foot. I think he does really well. Jack, you shared a really interesting stat about Florian Wirtz and the amount of touches in the final third. What do you want to speak to that a little bit more?
yeah. So like in games where Florian Wirtz has the most touches in an opponent's final third, Liverpool win those games. And I think that goes to show like kind of what I touched on earlier. If your best players can consistently get on the ball and combine with one another, better teams are more likely to win games. And this is exactly that case. I think from my research, I think in 5 games where he's had the most touches, Liverpool have got results.
Mm-hmm.
That's in all comps, not specifically just the Premier League, but I think it's a big thing to remember. Give your best players the ball and let them do things with it.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. How about defensively? How are Liverpool going to be successful to win this game defensively?
So that's a good question. So let's think of their most dangerous players. Forest, I say Morgan Gibbs White is definitely up there as one of their more dangerous players. What
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool have to do is prevent him receiving the ball high up in transitions, because if he has space, he can really hurt you. He
Yeah.
has the most GA in their squad and the most shots. And then who have we glazed all season, Ben? We've glazed Elliot Anderson all season.
Elliot Anderson.
Don't let him get on the ball. Don't let him start dictating play. I remember actually against Arsenal, I thought he had a brilliant performance. So it's like
Yeah.
he can show up in these big games and do stuff. So be I would like Liverpool to go man to man in this game from the get go. Be really aggressive with their pivot players. I think that would be Sangare and Elliot Anderson. Ultimately, the way what Liverpool did against Sunderland is they started like this zonal hybrid system, and Slot quickly realized like if we were gonna get the ball back and start winning duels, we need to go man to man pretty much across the pitch, and I want to see Liverpool do that here. Another thing Liverpool need to do really is deal with Igor Jesus runs in behind.
Yeah.
I expect if we're going to win, Ibu Kanate is going to have a good game here. He's typically the more combative of the centre backs, so I think Ibu has a task on his hand when it comes to dealing with Igor Jesus in behind, but I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think Yeah, just making sure that you don't let Igor Jesus or some of their attackers like run behind. You'll be okay overall. And with
Exactly.
a team like Konate and Virgil, I think you'll be generally okay with that.
Me too. So that's pretty much this game then. Let's talk about predictions, Ben. What do you
Yeah.
feel for this game?
I've been thinking about this game. I think Liverpool want a little payback. I think it's going to be a 3-0. They're going to want to even it up.
3-0, Ben. Fucking hell.
Let's go. Let's go. I mean, why not? Let's watch a
I'm
good
actually.
football game.
Oh yeah, dude. If Liverpool go there and win 3-0, I will be bloody delighted. I'll tell you that much. We're going to be watching that game together as well, really
Yep.
early. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. My prediction, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter, but I think Liverpool win this game 2-1.
Okay.
I could see Liverpool scoring early and scoring a second, and then Forest later in the game get some cheese and end up scoring another goal, or end up scoring their single goal. But hopefully that still leads to Liverpool's victory, and
Yeah.
Liverpool can march on in this top five race.
Yeah. And I think that aligns with our top five race. I think we both said that Liverpool would
Yeah,
be winning this game. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's Liverpool Forest, guys. Let us know what you think about this game. Let's move on to Arsenal Wolves, and in turn Tottenham Arsenal as well.
Yeah. Arsenal Wolves, man, what a game. We always talk about a match of two halves, but honestly, this was a match of the first 15 minutes for
Yeah,
Arsenal, and then the rest was kind of man. It was kind of sad. There was a moment in the beginning of this game. Sorry, before we jump into it, let's maybe talk about lineup and any surprises in the lineup for
yeah,
this
man.
game.
Saka, right?
Yeah, Saka came in and he was playing that 8/10 position, really more of a 10. And that's something I really enjoyed watching him against Wigan. It was a last minute decision because of the Calafiori injury.
Yeah,
But it was great to see like that the manager saw something there and he's like, let's do that again. That worked. Let's do it again. And it worked really well. Arsenal was very, very like they had a lot of control in the first few minutes of the game, were a bit more vertical than we're used to having when Odegaard's on the ball. Their forwards and wide players like were doing some really quick connections and making like
yeah.
Wolves react quickly. And we got a goal. Like Arsenal got a goal in the 5th minute. Um, did you see that goal, Jack?
I did, yeah. Really good ball by Rice into Saka. Good
Yeah.
header. What I liked most about that goal is how Saka uses his brain ultimately to make the run.
Yep.
It's something you don't see a lot of Arsenal, quite frankly. So
Yeah.
him running from that attacking midfield position and ultimately a decent finish. And I think at that stage of the game, you were definitely controlling proceedings for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in that part of the game, like I felt really confident. I was like, wow, this is like we're doing really well. We're coming off a really big win. I feel very confident in that first half, feeling very, very good. And after that, it kind of drops. But in the rest of the first half,
Yeah.
we do have 68% possession overall. But the big thing is we don't finish some of our chances
No.
well enough. There was a chance that Noni had on the edge of the box. It was a .02 xG with a point X got like left good. It was a decent strike in the 17th minute, but it got saved.
It's a good
And then
chance.
yeah, and then later on, almost in the
Martinelli is the one
same
for me.
minute, yeah, Martinelli had another great shot. It was a
Has to score.
.55 xG, yeah, and a .61. And like after his last minute blunder, I will say against Brentford, like this was his opportunity to come back and say like, no, I'm still the guy. Like, sure, you can do that against Wigan, a League One team that might get relegated to League Two, but like, do it in the Premier League. This is when it really matters. And that was kind of a disappointing kind of feel. And I wonder if that kind of switched their mindset of like, oh wait, maybe we do hold on to this game and don't go up as aggressively.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. I would say like Arsenal did create a couple of good chances after they go 1-0 ahead,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately, I think you could see on about like the 25th minute, 20th
Mm-hmm.
minute, Wolves have like a good opportunity from a counter attack where David Raya comes out and ultimately takes out Mateus Mane, and I
Yep.
think from then Arsenal they get they get shook a little bit. I don't think they attack as effectively from then on for the rest of that half.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see that really with the stats after that point. Like, I don't think Arsenal have many shots on target really after that period.
Yeah. After that period, it kind of drops off, and then we go into the second period, in the second half, and we really think like Arsenal is going to come out of this game in the second half really strong. That's what you you really need to do. And it just didn't happen. They in the entire second half, they only had 3 shots,
Yeah,
and the first shot came in the 56th minute, and that was Nkapie's goal, which actually was a great goal.
brilliant.
But
Yeah,
it was a great pass through. Like Gabriel Malik. I'm not gonna do it. Big Gabby like has this great ball that cuts through like every single line. And like Nkapie is there. Nkapie makes a beautiful run, like a
yeah.
better like bended run than anything I've seen from Gyökeres yet this season.
It was a
Like
great run. It
it
really
was a great
was.
run. He stayed on side. He like cut in at the right time, had one quick touch, and then put the ball in. 0.31 xg,
Brilliant finish.
0.23 Scott, like at the I think it hit the top of the net, like hit.
It did.
It was a really good goal. It was funny before this game, as I was driving to go watch the game. I was talking to our buddy Danny, and Danny was talking, and I were like, I don't think Nkapie is the man. I don't think he's the guy. Like we were looking at his like, if you look at his average heat map, he's sitting a little deeper. He isn't really getting involved in as many attacks. He did have that great cross against Brentford, but apart from that, like he hasn't been that involved. But then he kind of proved us wrong, and he's like, nah, yeah, I am the guy. So it was good to see that. That was a good moment. But that was just one moment in a half that was just not good overall.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, I mean, you can see if you break down some of the stats in this half, like Wolves edge Arsenal on ball possession, 51
Mhm.
to 49%.
Yeah.
Top of the league versus bottom of the league, you expect Arsenal to dominate the ball either way, and I think it
Yep.
goes to show their intention of protecting the lead ultimately at that
Mhm.
stage. Really post goal, it was all Wolves for me. I think as soon as Nkapie scores the second,
Yep.
Arsenal are way too comfortable defending the lead and get punished shortly after that.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we've talked about this in every single game in which Arsenal have let the lead go, but
Yeah,
like yeah, they become way too comfortable in saying, you know what, yeah, let's set off, let's rely on our defensive prowess, and they don't. I think like they don't calculate the I guess the chance that a ball could go in by a brilliant strike, and that's
yeah.
exactly what happens, right? Like Bueno has one of like when that ball went, I was like, you can't be mad at that goal. It was
Nah,
so
it's
well.
such a brilliant shot. And ultimately, how many times have we referenced this season to long shots being a more viable way to score statistically? Like we've seen
Yeah.
a huge increase on in long shot success this year. And
Hmm.
what a finish by Bueno. I
Yeah.
think you said, or one of our buddies said, that's his first goal for Wolves.
That's crazy. I mean, good
Man.
for him. Like in this kind of game, like against the title contenders, like that is a good goal for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and like it came again. That goal came from a defensive error. In that goal, or the build up to the goal, Bueno actually had like a corner kick. The ball went to the other side, and then we just kind of lost him. Arsenal just lost his position, and when he got the ball, no one pressed him. Like
Yeah.
no one was on top of him, and he just took the shot. 0.04 xg, like edge of the box, really good whipped in shot, and Raya was going there, but he wasn't close to it.
I think like in for that specific chance, Hincapié was way more central than he probably needed to be. But I'll tell you this: I think it was really good from Wolves to spread the play there because of how Arsenal's structure looked in that period. Rice was trying to attack the ball player and forgot about Bueno really over the other side, and he picks up the ball in acres of space, man. Like,
Hmm.
and as soon as he picks up the ball, what I would really like to see is Hincapié be more aggressive and
Yeah.
go to the player instead of. I fucking hate it, Ben, when defenders put their hands behind their back and jockey
Hmm.
from right to left.
Hmm.
Go to the ball carrier
Yeah.
because you're essentially just inviting him to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you are letting him have the ball and you're saying, "You know what? I'm okay. You can
Yeah,
take a chance. I don't trust that your chance is going to be good." And that's kind of I don't know, that's conceited. Just get the ball, like just push a man to him and get to the ball.
I agree. And you had numbers around the ball in that situation to do so, but just didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, you just continue seeing Arsenal letting up the aggression, the positionality. They just don't really care about it anymore. right? Like they're not, as you mentioned, they're not going to step on the throat to get the next goal.
No.
And then you get to the late stages of the games, and this is, I think, what everyone has talked about. So I don't want to go too deep into it, but like time wasting and trying to rely on the team not being able to get the ball back to your third is just, it's just amateur football, man. Like we shouldn't be doing that at this stage. And it could be tired legs, it could be a lot of different things, but I think a huge thing is just like the sense of panic and fear that something bad's going to happen. And when you
Yeah.
don't play with confidence, and we don't, and that shows in the amount of actual possession that we had in those last few minutes after the 80th minute or so, it really like goes in favor attacking wise to Wolves,
It
you
does.
know.
You can see the players. I think you put it really well in the sense that I think they look nervous, man. Like they almost look like they know something bad could happen. And instead of at times I've seen Arsenal, Everton is the perfect example of this a few weeks ago. Although you were defending like a 1 goal lead, it was
Mhm.
about let's just see this game out. Be calm, play the ball out from the back. Do not let them ultimately against the bottom of the table Wolves. You have to maintain that a lead at the very least. If they get one back through brilliance, fine. But once it goes 2-1, it should either be shut up shop or
Yeah.
we put our foot on your throat and get the third.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think there was just there was a lot of confusion. I know that there's blame thrown around for the defensive issues between Gabriel and Raya trying to claim the ball versus Gabriel heading the ball away. And like I think what that shows ultimately is when people are like, who's to blame? They're both to blame.
Yeah,
Like in my mind,
agree.
if Gabriel's going for the ball, he shouts that he's going for the ball. If Raya wants to go for the ball, he tells Gabriel to go down. But Raya has his hands. He can punch the ball away. He can do something else. And if Gabriel gets hit in the head accidentally while that happens, like I think Gabriel's going to be okay with it. But like it came from a moment of panic rather than a point that could have. There was no threat. There was no threat at that point.
No, I have a slightly different opinion.
Yeah.
I do think that is David Raya's fault.
Okay.
Mainly because I don't think Gabriel is just trying to attack the ball. From my perspective, from the goalkeeper, you know no one is behind you. You also know that the ball trajectory is coming to where he could just claim it if he tells Gabriel it's mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could see both of them go up for the ball, and ultimately, because of that, Raya can't get his hands fully on the ball and pats it down for the eventual scorer. And I think all he needs to do in that situation, at least from my perspective, is communicate with Gabriel better.
Yeah, it was a comedy of errors,
Yeah,
and it was a really poor way to finish that game. Have you heard any of the comments from either Arteta or any of the Arsenal players since the end of the game?
I haven't know what's come out.
Um, I mean, I think the big thing is Arteta came out and said it was like, you know what, that's on us. Like we did not play the game that we wanted that we should have played, and
Yeah,
like, I think about the Arteta, I guess his reaction to their loss after the FA Cup in 22, 23, no, 21, 22, during the documentary, when he's like yelling at the team, like, when we lose a duel, I'm upset, right? Like, I can just imagine him like just screaming at the team. And if he's not at this point, like, and I get it, like this team is evolved, but like there needs to be something that happens that kicks him into gear.
I do you not think, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this. Do you not feel like what we see in these parts of games is the result of trauma in the past few seasons? Like they look like things are going to go wrong, and they not
Yeah,
they don't change it. If you know what I mean, like it's not a
there.
fuck no, this isn't happening today.
Yeah, and that's what I'm. It's like it is, you're manifesting that fear
Yeah,
rather than manifesting. And you can think what you want about manifesting, but like confidence is so important how you play the game. And when you are afraid of doing something, you're not gonna you're if you're afraid of holding on the ball, if you're afraid of like in these positions to go after it and maybe get another goal yourself,
yeah.
like you're gonna give up errors, you're gonna give up chances, and people are gonna have worldy opportunities.
I saw something really good earlier from another Arsenal content creator. They basically said what Arsenal are tremendously good at, and I think this is really well said. He said what Arsenal are good at is implementing what they want to do and stopping the other team doing what they want to do and forcing them to do things that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But his take on that was essentially by doing that and having that type of game plan, you're not setting yourself up successfully offensively all the time. Like you cannot create a platform for attack if your aim is to put people in situations where they're essentially having to win a bunch of duels consistently. I think trying to build it's difficult, isn't it? Because we've criticized Arsenal a lot of times for not killing teams, and it's probably not going to be the last time we bring this up. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from what phase of the game are we in? Like, are we in a phase where we're trying to take it to the opposition, or are we in a phase where we're trying to prevent? And the word prevent doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me, equate to attacking foundational football.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is a reliance on the defensive because that's
Yeah,
where they feel more confident. And the reality is, like, if you look at this game, Arsenal's offensive players were the worst in the squad. They just did not perform well, and I think because of that, there probably was direction saying like, okay, we're not getting a goal. Hold back. So yeah, I think that's a part of it is definitely the mentality of going into prevent, and that's also direction of going into prevent rather than continue attacking.
which like I don't know for a top team, man. I don't want to watch that. Like if it was
No.
on the same, if the shoe was on the other foot in Liverpool in this scenario, my immediate thought process would be this is bottom of the league Wolves. Let's go here. We play first. We can
Yeah.
put ourselves another 3 points ahead. Let's go and batter these guys. Let's show we are league title champions. And it's just added a little bit more uncertainty into the fan base, which isn't good at this stage.
Yeah, I think, and it definitely inserted uncertainty to me last night. Yesterday was just kind of sad about it. I woke up this morning, and I think it's important for me to be able to be like, yeah, I need to feel these uncertain moments. But
Yeah,
Jack, you encouraged me all yesterday evening, and you've encouraged me like just keep going.
have to.
Be positive about it, and you have to, and that's what I chose to do. And I can be negative and say, oh, we've bottled it, and I've made that joke already, but like, you know what? It's not done until it's done. And Arsenal, you have the opportunity to prove everyone wrong, including most of your fans at this point, and I hope you do.
I think a lot of it comes down to like taking things in your stride and like sounding out the noise. I remember when Liverpool were going for the league title under Jurgen Klopp,
Hmm.
and whenever they were asked about championships or competing for the league, the response from all of the players and Jurgen is our focus is on the next game.
Yeah.
Whatever happens on the next game, we take it on the chin. We move on to the game after that. It's just a
Hmm.
systematic approach that I think makes it easier to digest if one of these results don't go your way. And
Yep.
I want to say this too, right? So like I've seen a bunch of Arsenal fans be quite negative about this. You're not competing with City teams of 5 years ago, man. They're
Yeah.
not perfect either. They will drop points in this run in. I'm
Yeah.
almost certain of it. It's just about Arsenal being able to I think I think they need to maintain a bit of a gap throughout this period, mainly because you don't want to invite a situation, at least for me, when you go to the Etihad and it's super close.
Hmm.
You kind of want a buffer to be able to either draw or lose that game, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think the next few games for Arsenal are going to prove to be incredibly important in this run in.
Yeah. Yeah. Before, and I really want to get into the North London Derby and move move beyond this Wolves result. But there's one thing that actually helped me kind of reset my mind. And I was looking at the table and where we were. And if you look at the last 5 matches for Arsenal, we're in sixth on the table. Not in top five. That's not championship
No.
team winning records, right? But if you look at the league and you look at Arsenal's away record, even after these draws that we've had away, Arsenal right now are in first and have 26 points. Second is Chelsea with 22 points. So we're still far better away than other teams below us. City has 21 points away right now for their record. So, and then at home, we're tied with City at 32 points at home. Still not good enough for us to be tied with City with 32 points. We should have more points there, but still, like I think that put in perspective, like we've done better away than most of the rest of the teams, and we can we can continue doing better away. It's in Arsenal's hands to move forward.
Yeah, and I think like to put a bow on this, ultimately, I think the league title this year comes down to the team that has fewer imperfections, and I still think that's Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal has a squad that addresses a bunch of needs, and because of that, has fewer imperfections than City. City still cannot defend transitions well, and it proves to be a bugbear for them in every game they play. So I'm curious to see how the next few games play out, and if a gap can be created or it gets closer.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we can regain that gap this weekend
Against Tottenham Hotspur, Ben.
against Tottenham Hotspur.
Let's talk about this game then. So let's we have something a little bit different for you guys. We've spoken to couple of our Tottenham Hotspur friends, so we'll cut out to some of those clips when it does get to that. But talk to me a little about the situation with Arsenal coming into this game, Ben.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about injuries. Starting off, we have Havertz out. He has a muscle injury. Just got back to the team and has another injury and is out until early March.
It's brutal.
Yeah, we have Odegaard out due to a knock in the Brentford match. He is expected back late February. Calafiori was, when I was first doing my notes for this, had some discomfort, and they said that he may not be out, but he did make an appearance this against Wolves and helped Wolves get an own goal.
He
So
did, yeah.
yeah, maybe he should have been injured. No, it's okay. Things happen. And then Marino's out for the season as well. He had
What
a foot
happened to
injury.
Marino? Oh, foot.
It was a foot injury, and I think I saw him. He had surgery last week. So
Shit.
yeah. Uh, and then actually, as of this morning, it looks like Bukayo Saka could potentially be out with a muscle injury. He's doubtful against
No
Spurs.
way.
Yeah.
What was that injury they reported? Did you see?
I haven't seen the details about it yet, but
Shit.
it just says that he is doubtful for it. But actually, I was surprised because I thought Leandro was going to be out because he took that knock to the head. And
Yeah,
it
I
looked
saw
like
that.
he was down for a while, but nothing yet. It might just be concussion protocol for Leandro. Yeah. So with those injuries out, really, we are missing some of our, I would say, some of our firepower that we
Definitely.
typically have against Spurs. I was really hoping that we would have Havertz. Havertz loves a derby game, a London derby game. Him being out for this is kind of disappointing. But, Martin Odegaard being out, I think, is a little disappointing. But I'm interested to see how we play with Eze. I think Eze's going to start this game. He had a hat trick
Me
at
too.
home. He's most likely going to start this game. I think he wants to start this game.
So, speaking of lineups, then, how do you think Arsenal set up in this game?
I think it's going to be a pretty typical lineup for us. Saliba, Gabriel,
Yeah,
obviously. I think Timber's in this. I think Ngapié gets the start after his performance in the last game.
I think he's earned that shirt. Honestly, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I think like his impact on games, at least for me, is much more noticeable than Calafiori when he plays there. I
yeah,
think Calafiori had a really good start to the season. Actually, I thought he was quite good at the start, but has tailed off more recently.
yeah. And I think I honestly would probably prefer to see Ngapié start the game and Calafiori maybe finish it off.
Yeah,
Just because I think Spurs are going to come after it, and I think Ngapié is just a bit more defensively strong. There. Midfield's going to be Rice, Zubimendi, and I was initially going to say Saka coming in, but it's going to be as in that 8/10 position. I think Madueke is going to start out right. And on the left, most likely Trossard. I don't think Martinelli is going to get a shot for this game after the Wolves game. Also, Martinelli kind of needs rest overall. And then up top, I want to see Gabriel Jesus come out for it. I think that's the kind of lineup that I'd like to see. Any changes in that for you in the midfield or attacking?
For me, I think Jesus would be the better selection of Gyökeres for this game, mainly because like I do not see Gyökeres getting a sniff over Mickey Van der Ven, man.
Nah.
So I think Jesus would definitely give Van der Ven some more problems. I'd like to see Trossard start as well. I
Mm-hmm.
think in a game where I think you're going to have quite a lot of kind of final third possession, I think having Trossard and Jesus in those types of situations is good. You're probably going to end up seeing Madueke start on the right, which he's had like a decent bit of uptick in form. I think he's what's he at now? 2 goals in the last few games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to start mainly because of the the absence of Saka. I'm curious to see how Eze approaches this game, actually. Like I've said, I think Eze is best played when he's given the ball in space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be a bunch of space in this game because I think, and we'll get into it in a bit, but I think Spurs, they're not going to change their approach too much. I don't think the managers had enough time, but Eze will start, and then I think the rest of the team kind of picks itself based on who's available in form.
Yeah, yeah, I really like Gabriel Jesus with Eze because I think Gabriel will drop in, give Eze some more
Yes,
space up top, and like maybe that's the space he needs to get to get through.
it's a
Or
good point.
maybe if Eze drops, like he had some great balls through against Wigan. I don't expect us to have those kinds of balls, but I think it would still be. I think that's going to be the right choice for us in this game.
For sure. Let's go into a bit of Arsenal's form. I can actually take this if you like.
Yeah, of course.
So Arsenal had a pretty, I mean, surprising draws against both Brentford and Wolves. I'd argue against Brentford, they were lucky to get a draw in that game at the end, but managed to claw the points. Like you said, they are brilliant. They have been brilliant away from home. Maintain one of the strongest records in the league. I like what you've put down here in terms of 5 clean sheets away. I think
Hmm.
it's I can see you guys getting a clean sheet in this game. And I think it's going to be a really important foundational game for Arsenal in this run in. I think if they can win this game and win it, it doesn't even need to be convincing. Just get the result and put the points on the board. But
Yeah.
I could see you put here have scored the first goal in 46% of the time away and led 31% of the time at half. I can see a similar thing happening here, man. I think Arsenal are going to end up scoring from a set piece situation at some point in the game and ultimately end up winning the game. We'll get into that in a bit, but I think in terms of how Arsenal set up for this game, I'm really interested to see how they deal with how deep Spurs are going to defend. They've been quite, what's the term? At least under Frank, they were set up quite defensively. So I'm curious to see how Arsenal counteract that. And then a 71% equalizing rate, 7 goals to give the lead to opponents, 5 goals scored to equalize, and their PPGA is 1.92 under 6.23 corners. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So you could see how strong they are in both maintaining leads and keeping leads. It's
Mhm.
just for me, if you do what you need to do in killing this game off, and I think you're going to see a bit of ruthlessness from Arsenal in this game. I like the lineup we've gone to. How do you feel about it, like in terms of overall form coming into this game?
Yeah, I think I really hope that they bring the game
Yeah,
to Spurs this time around.
I agree with that.
I think they can't sit off like they have. They can't be relaxed. And a part of me, I think, wonders if that was tactically made because they thought, hey, let's not overexert ourselves. We have a big run of games coming up. Right after they go to Spurs, they then have Chelsea at home. So it could
Big
have
game.
been, yeah, they have a couple of big games. So maybe they will change their mindset. But yeah, as you said, like I want this to be another clean sheet. I think this is like the time to say if we are challenging for this title, we will go to our rivals, our local rivals, and we will destroy them. And that kind of puts a firm line in the sand. And that's kind of what needs to happen right now. Well, I think for my keys to victory for this game, I think they need to finish their chances early. Like
Facts,
Wigan, they
yeah.
had some great chances. They broke those lines, and they really like they can find the breaks and the concentration on the defense, maybe during especially during transition and get through. I think they did a really good job against Wigan in exploiting those half spaces. They actually did a pretty good job as well in exploiting those half spaces at the beginning of the Wolves game. So like if those wingbacks tuck in, push up, and play in behind, like I think they'll have an overload and be able to get through. But I think like defensively, like they gotta remain compact. They gotta make sure that they keep their eyes on late run-ins, especially from people like Van de Ven.
Yeah, it's funny because like, and we'll get into the Spurs side of this in a minute. I don't see where they get goals in this game. Spurs they're so devoid of attacking options at the moment. So I'm curious to see how. I think they're going to want to score goals for set pieces in this game, man. Tottenham, I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
do.
yeah.
So yeah, that's really the talking points for Arsenal. Let's cut to our buddy Rodney and see how he feels.
All right, we are here with Rodney.
At the Bluefoot, getting some opinions on our North London derby. Rodney, what do you think about the season so far?
Season so far, as a Tottenham fan, has been absolutely awful. It's just a repeat of last year, decimated by injuries. A little Jekyll and Hyde with the Champions League run. Seems to be doing very well in that. Obviously, we're going to finish 17th again and win the Champions League this season. But actual real fears this time are going down. We obviously just sacked our coach, Thomas Frank. We've got this new guy coming in as an interim.
Yeah, what do you think of him?
Igor Tudor. I'll tell you. I'll tell you in 12 games.
Okay.
I mean, he could become an instant legend next week.
Yeah, you could. I mean,
Yeah.
like winning North London derby at home could be an instant legend, especially if that game stops Arsenal this season.
Exactly. And, you got the new manager bounce there. And it's the first North London derby, I want to say, in about 4 years that actually means something, both teams.
Yeah.
But this time, us at the bottom end of the table instead of going for, top four.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm concerned about the game. I think we will get trashed.
Okay.
But, you live in hope. 3-0. I don't really care, but it'd probably be an Eze hat-trick again, yeah.
I actually thought that too. I was
mean,
like,
he's
Eze
done
saved up his goals for that.
He's done nothing all season apart from against us, has he? So, yeah,
Yeah.
just rub salt into the wounds. I do think he would have had a better season if he'd have come to Tottenham.
Yeah.
For both him as well, I think he would have had a lot more freedom at Tottenham
Yeah.
to do his thing. But yeah, it's all set up for him, isn't it? Again, as long as Jokeres doesn't score and do that silly celebration, I'll be quite happy.
I appreciate it, Rod. Thank you.
No worries.
I won't be here for the match, but I'm gonna be excited to watch that.
Yeah.
But thank you. Appreciate
I
it.
know you're running scared.
We are. Absolutely, we are. All right, that's Rodney from Bluefoot. Thank you.
Thank you to Ben and Rodney for some of that Spurs insight. Let's get into Spurs ourselves then, Ben. So talk me through some of the injuries. Actually, not some of the injuries. A huge amount of injuries Spurs are dealing with at the moment.
Yeah, we talked about it at the end of the Arsenal section about how we don't know where the goals are coming from. There are so many injuries. Just starting off in the defense, Romero is serving a ban. Was I think a 3 or 4 game ban? I forget, but that does come in. 4-game ban that comes in here. Pedro Porro has a hamstring injury and is doubtful. I don't imagine him coming back. Kulusevski is expected in late February. Kudus and Davies are coming back in mid-April. Kudus had been out for a little while. Richarlison is doubtful. He could maybe come in. Richarlison likes the North London derby. He might. He does. I honestly think he'll push through and come in. And then we have Bergvall, who's expected back late April, and Udogie late February. Who are we really looking at then for attacking? Is that Solanke?
Yeah, it'll be Solanke. I think Odegaard is out now as well, isn't he? I think he ruptured his ACL, so I think he's out for the season as well. They are really light when it comes to offensive options, Ben. Like, I think it's a big concern for them, and that kind of goes back to why we say I don't know where the goals are coming from, dude. Because I mean, in terms of attacking front three, we're probably going to see. I think Mattis Tell probably come in for Tottenham.
Okay.
I think we'll end up seeing Solanke start, who's been in some decent form recently. And they're probably going to have to play Xavi Simons off the left. I much prefer him in midfield, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to have to play him off the left. I can see them having a midfield 3.
They have Conor Gallagher, but I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see him starting for sure. I think you're probably going to get Gallagher. Probably if Basuma ends up coming in. I know Sarr is fit again, so he's probably going to play as well. That's probably the midfield 3 I would go with. But if you think about those players as a whole, where are the goals coming from? Like, where is progressive football coming from? Yeah. It's tough, man. Like, they're in a really difficult situation when it comes to injuries. Who do you think starts in defense for them? Because I know Porro obviously being injured, you'd expect Spence to start on one of those sides.
Yeah, I think Spence is going to have to start on one of the sides. Dragison's going to be in. Romero's out. So, yeah. We have Van de Ven coming in. I think it's probably going to be a 3-person back with Mickey in the middle. And then Dragison on one side and Spence on the other.
Is Danzo healthy? He might be. Right. Actually, he's injured.
No, he's injured. Danzo's injured as well.
Crazy. Actually,
I mean, maybe
honestly,
you drop Paulina in the back line if you
possibly
have him playing a 4.
Yeah,
so
I think they're probably going to end up with a back 4, in my opinion.
They have Archie Gray. I forgot Archie Gray is going to be in.
Yeah, I think we'll probably end up seeing Archie Gray at right back, where he's played sometimes. A back 2 of Dragusin and Van de Ven, and then Spence will probably end up playing left back. Yeah. I don't see where ball progression comes from in this team, man. Like, they've lost all of their ball progressions to ball.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard game. I think, with those injuries and with their current form, they are 0-3-2 in the Prem.
God.
16th, sitting 5 points off the relegation zone, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
If you just look at their last 5 matches, they would be 19th in the table.
That is shocking.
Jack, do you know when their last win in the Premier League was?
Wasn't it October?
No. It was
December?
yeah, it was in December. Yeah,
Yeah.
their last win in
December.
the Premier League was in December. It was
Palace?
away at Palace. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? That really is crazy, and that's an indictment, really, of where they are as a club at the moment.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Their home form in the season is actually even worse.
Worse.
When we were looking at them at the beginning of the season, we talked about how good they were away, but then we're actually awful at home, and they've been 2-7-4.
God.
At home, which is insane. They're
So
18th
poor.
in the league for home form. If they're just looking at home form.
And prior to this, Thomas Frank was operating at 1.1 points per game, which is like relegation form, ultimately.
Yeah, that is so low. Yeah, I mean they have the thing is both of their wins at home have been clean sheets. I don't think that's going to happen here if they score.
No way.
In this game, but they score the first goal 31% of the time, and then they led at the half 23% of the time. So less so than Arsenal. If they score, they kind of need to maintain that lead.
Agree.
Into it. I do want to talk real quick about their XG. So they're outperforming their goals to XG. They have a plus 8.6 differential for goals to XG. Their XG is at a 27.4 with 36 goals.
That's crazy.
Insane. And that's from 98 shots on target. They are scoring a lot of goals, and none of them have been penalties. None of them have been penalties.
That's crazy too. But like, where do penalties come from? They come from having sustained possession in your opponent's box. They don't play like that, man. If you remember, like the goal that they scored in the first North London derby, it's a complete like crazy goal. They've done it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
They score a bunch of low XG chances. Fair enough, but like variance is gonna come home to roost at some point, man.
Yeah,
and it has ultimately.
Yep. And if we want to go into them defensively, I want to take a look at their PPDA. It's actually not that far off. It's 11 PPDA under Frank. So, they're not really pressing like a relegation side. They're more mid-table pressers.
Mid-table, yeah.
Yeah. And then 68% of shots against come from inside of the box, with 78% of the goals coming from inside the box. So they're letting a lot of people a little closer in to take those shots on goals. So there could be some joy there for some of those Arsenal players getting into the box. Yeah, I think obviously Arsenal coming in with set pieces, they will probably utilize them as much as they can. 7 goals conceded from set pieces. So 18% of their goals have been conceded from set pieces overall. Not super high, but I don't see them really defending set pieces super well in this.
No, they don't. And Romero isn't there. Like, he's a big part of their box presence. I think that's not particularly great for them. Spence is good in the air, and so is Mickey van der Ven. So I think there's going to be a big degree of importance on them defending the box for set pieces.
Yeah, I can see Arsenal working on bullying Van de Ven rather than bullying Vicario in this situation. Just make sure that we nullify him in the box.
How do you feel about RG Gray starting on the right? Like, would you want to see Martinelli start in that case? Because I think if you have like a more direct type of player, I think players that are basically coming in as stopgaps are more likely to struggle.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I honestly think that they're also going to probably tuck Archie Gray in a little bit more, so there could be a bit more space. So would be nice if Archie Gray starts Martinelli and bring Trossard in potentially. I just think that the kind of interplay that Trossard has had with Gabriel Jesus has been a bit stronger so far.
Fair.
Than Martinelli. I think Martinelli has done really well breaking off of balls from Gyökeres and Havertz, but I think for this kind of lineup, if you start Martinelli, I think you're most likely going to start Gyökeres, and I don't really want to see that. I would be okay with Martinelli coming in at the end state of this game when Gray is maybe a little bit more tired, if Gray starts and taking like a lot of advantage of that, of the fatigued legs.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't have a bunch of depth to come off the bench either because of their injury situation. So I think you could take advantage of that later in the game. But it's a really interesting situation defensively for Tottenham. Let's cut to our buddy Tyler and see hear his thoughts on how Spurs are doing so far this season.
We're here to discuss your beloved Tottenham Hotspur.
I do love those fucking guys.
Firstly, really, what's your take on the season so far, Tyler?
Oh, geez, man. In a whole, not good. We've been really poor at home, and that's just unacceptable on a bunch of different levels.
Yeah.
When we first started the season, like me and you had spoken, and I was like, I remember mentioning this to you. I was like, Frank has made us really tough to beat.
He has,
and that was about 8 or games so into the season, and now we're looking at another big loss again and again. I feel like we just get beat. We just don't win any games. Like we draw, we scrape draws, and we just get battered. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, I remember at the start of the season, like you were doing all right.
Yeah,
like
I mean, we had like a loss in the first couple games, but then we kind of didn't lose anymore. I think we had like 5 wins and 2 draws or something. It was pretty nice. But the issue is when you rely on those like fine margins like that, a lot of set piece goals. It's tough. It's tough. I don't even know what a Tottenham goal looks like.
That's a really good point. Like over the space of the time Frank was there, I don't think he established a lot of attacking patterns of play.
No.
A lot of it was like you said, really is relying on those fine margins and set pieces. And where it did work quite effectively early on, it obviously wasn't something that was sustainable for Tottenham. And you could see that as the season progressed.
Yeah, you hit it. You rely on those fine margins. It's tough to replicate over and over and over again unless you have like a systematic sort of way of approaching. Like Frank, in his few months that he had in charge, wasn't able to generate that.
Nothing like that was established at all. It was like you said, really, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It was just relying on those fine margins.
We had a bunch of crazy like low XG chances go in, and when you're relying on like Paulinho overhead kicks to like scrape draws, like it doesn't. That's not good.
I mean, you have had some like I wouldn't say like fully standout players this season, but you've had guys that perform better than not. But ultimately, I think another trend of the season so far is just riddled with injuries.
Tell me, it's the injured 11 sometimes looks better than the current 11.
Yeah,
and that's,
facts.
If we haven't seen Madison or Kulu at all this season, probably 2 of our best midfielders progressing the ball, whether that's carrying or passing. And we just so desperately need a passer in this team outside of Porro or Romero, which those 2 have had their ups and downs this season as well. Romero more recently with his flurry of reds.
Yeah, and I think like going to the issue with the passing element of the team, something that I've noticed consistently with Tottenham is their inability to progress the ball centrally. Unless Porro is there, there's almost no passing cadence whatsoever in the team. And I remember like when we played you and we watched that at Bluefoot, the amount of times like Spurs had opportunities to counter but couldn't pass effectively through the thirds was glaring in my opinion.
Yeah, and we would catch you out numbers-wise and just completely just play a pass that's just so easily read or telegraphed or just don't play the pass at all because they don't have the confidence that they can make it. When you think about a midfield of typically like Sarr, I mean, Sarr can't even get into the team after probably being our best player for the first month. Well, Kudus was probably the best player for the first month.
Missing him too.
Yeah.
Brutal.
And then Sarr, Bentancur, and fucking Paulinho midfield 3 is just not a recipe for a lot of good passing options.
No, it's really not. So, I mean, overall, it's safe to say it's been underwhelming.
I mean, when we started the season, we were a crazy couple goals away from winning the Super Cup. PSG had gotten a couple goals late, and I thought that we had, kind of righted the ship a little bit. And just looking back, it was just such a facade, all of it. And then now we've sacked another manager. I used to look at Chelsea in a weird way for years, sacking their manager, and we've become them, but worse.
To a degree, yeah. I mean,
we don't win as much.
So talk to me about that then. So, obviously Frank is underperformed. I think probably let go too late, or later than he should have possibly been. But what's your feelings on the new manager, Igor Tudor?
Dude, it's tough to really make a snap decision. I know we're going to play a lot more aggressively under him, which is something that I kind of look forward to. But it's
what Spurs fans want ultimately.
We want to at least play on the front foot, and it seems like with Frank, we just sat, and we don't have the ability to control the game, the ball, anything. So when we're asked to do that, we can't. When we're not even good defensively, truthfully. Like, it's not like, we're on a sick one where we concede a lot of shitty goals, sloppy errors.
I mean, I don't have this in front of my head, but the last time I saw it, you have similar offensive XG to Sunderland, but way worse defensive XG. And what that essentially means is that's where they're in the position they're in. Like, they've just prevented goals when you've not done the same level of preventing goals. And I think ultimately, at least from the managerial perspective, I can see the style changing quite a bit under Tudor, and we'll get to that later in the podcast episode, or we might have done it already. But ultimately, I think what Spurs fans want from a manager or from like a play style is aggressive and ultimately football in moments, like things that are good to watch. It's attractive football,
silky footballers, man.
And I think Tudor definitely has more of that style compared to Thomas Frank. I guess another question I have for you really is, how do you think Spurs can win this game?
Oh man, relating it to the last time we saw them play each other, first 30 minutes or so, I thought Spurs were decent defensively, keeping it tidy, defending the set pieces. Just like once Arsenal get a goal, they just strangle the life out of us.
They do, yeah.
And then outside of like a miracle shot from Richarlison, which catches Raya napping, basically, we don't score. We don't really create anything. I think we created like in the single,
it was low,
like 0.0 something XG that game.
It was low.
I mean, the Eze fucking hat trick too kind of haunts me.
Done nothing since then, by the way.
Done nothing up to that point. Did nothing since. But if he plays, I just imagine he'll make one against us.
It was like the perfect footnote to write for Arsenal fans to Spurs fans, that one. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately,
keep it tidy, I guess, is the best way I could say. But like, dude, we have to jump on them early, but nobody jumps on Arsenal.
No,
like
you're right. I mean, ultimately, I think to me it comes down to taking advantage of the moments you get, and I think that's an absolute must in this game.
I mean, they're not like fully healthy either. You know, like
not.
I've seen some of their they have an insane squad, but you would rather take the second squad with a mixture of the first squad as opposed to their full 11,
Yeah, you're right.
Even though we're arguably as, if not more, injured.
So how do Spurs win? Keep it tidy.
Get a goal somehow,
Take
but I don't, dude. A result in any form is a huge deal for Spurs, and obviously a big deal for Arsenal if they drop points in the title race.
I think that's a really good point. I would say there is an element of any points you get from this game are really big for both teams ultimately, and I think Spurs would definitely love the feather in their cap of denting Arsenal's title hopes. Speaking of denting Arsenal's title hopes, what's your score prediction for this game?
I'm not, dude. How could I predict anything other than an Arsenal 2-0 win?
Chest. That's the only way you could do it, mate. Is chest.
But that's just, I don't have the belief right now. I've been beaten down. The thing about, dude, we haven't got a result against Arsenal since Ange's first game against Arsenal, and that was
the Madison Dom.
Yeah, when he spun
Saka. Yeah, I remember that.
That was a crazy game. Someone was firing him that game too. I think he had both goals.
He did. So predicting a loss, I assume. By what margin?
I'll be nice to us to say 2-1.
2-1. I'm going to go with a relatively similar result to that, and we'll definitely get to that later in the episode. But thank you for joining me, Tyler.
Of course, thanks for having me.
I hope to make it more fun. We get a result in this game for Tottenham. I think it will make the game make the title race way more interesting. But we'll wait and see. Let's get back to the guys recording the podcast.
Thank you to Tyler for his take on the current Tottenham situation. Let's get into Igor Tudor then. So Tottenham, as we did touch on, Tottenham have decided to change their manager. I think it was the right decision. I honestly think the decision was probably done a bit too late.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many games they have left? 12 now, I think. And overall, I think this is the type of managerial appointment that, I mean, Tudor's style isn't quite befitting to a relegation battle, Ben. But it's a very interesting situation Spurs find themselves in with the type of manager that they've appointed. But ultimately, who is going to take over a relegation battle, ultimately, and then almost with very, very little guarantee you're going to get given the job full-time after that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we talk about like people who are like contractors who are in to get a one job done and move on, and
Yeah.
that could be what Tudor is.
Yep, and let's talk a bit about Mr. Igor Tudor. So he has been a professional manager for many years since 2013. He's managed some relatively big clubs. He had a spell with Galatasaray, Udinese, Marseille, Lazio, and most recently Juventus. Crazy stat is he's never lasted longer than a year at his job, which is kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did some research around that really, and trying to find out why that could have possibly been. A lot of the feedback that I saw is early season overperformance based on like a very aggressive style typically led to fatigue at the end of seasons and the form then dipping, which is really screaming Ange Postecoglou to me.
I mean,
yeah,
we just talked about the injuries, so like
we did.
Did they do their research as well as you've done your research to understand what they're bringing in? Okay, interesting.
I'm really not sure. I think ultimately, though, I think the way Daniel Levy, or God, he's gone now. I think the way their hierarchy, I think the way their hierarchy is looking at this is, I think they are statistically more likely to stay up than the teams below them, for sure.
Yeah.
I think their squad is considerably better than the teams below them.
Yeah.
I think what they're looking for is like, okay, we need a guy that can keep us up, that can have us play some attacking, somewhat entertaining football, and we'll wave him goodbye after he does his job and get a manager that will lead to further sustained success. But ultimately, he is a risky appointment for me, Ben. It's really the only way I could say it. Let's talk a bit about his last job. So he replaced Thiago Motta, who was struggling at Juventus. Crazy thing, actually, is that was their first foreign manager appointment since 06-07, and that was Didier Deschamps took over for them then. So that's a long time of like consistently going with Italian managers and breaking the mold. So they must have thought he was good and he would kind of put them in a good position to succeed. And he did manage to guide them to Champions League. He signed an extension which should have kept him there till 28, but he was fired by Juventus after an 8-game winless run after a loss to Lazio. So that's kind of his profile, who he is, who he's managed before. We'll get into his style. Talk to me about his in-possession style, Ben.
Yeah, in possession, he has a reputation for really high energy, progressive attacking football. So blending structured build up with like a lot of vertical transitions.
Yeah.
Which is, we made a joke about sounding like Ange, but that basically, if you want to think about Ange's football, that's a similar kind of football. He likes his players to use like a more direct long ball approach, like they used to do in Juventus. The ball, I think, was often played directly to Vlahovic, and then midfielders would swarm the second ball so they could get the second ball if they needed to. This is kind of a style that we see happening in Premier League football anyways, to break through that first line of defenders and get the ball passed. So I can see that, this could potentially work for him as long as they have a target person up there to get the ball. In this case, it's going to be Solanke. How good is Solanke at aerial duels, I wonder?
He's not like great. He's probably like not top 20% in his position for aerial duels. He typically is more of a channel runner, Solanke. So I'm curious to see how that ends up working for them. On the flip side, though, I think Richarlison is quite good at it. So
I think
they could possibly do that.
It's structured more for like a Richarlison getting the ball up top and having a second man to run off of. He has tactical flexibility, alternating between like a 3-4-3, a 3-4-2-1, and sometimes even a 4-2-3-1. I think against Arsenal, he's probably going to be using more of that 4-2-3-1 and being able to get into like that low block and then doing a ball over the top. So I think right now, I think when he was playing with Juventus, he rotated from that back four buildup.
Yeah.
In order to like open up passing lanes, and he loved rotational switches. So having versatile players like McKennie, Yildiz, to be able to like rotate in and out is probably where he's going to find the most joy. I could see that happening with Archie Gray, maybe Paulina a little bit in the first third, but then like switching that up a little further on with Xavi Simon or someone like that in the final third.
I could see that happening too. I think like the way he needs to implement style here, like I said earlier on in the episode, I don't see him changing a bunch really early. I mean, he's been the manager for a few days at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if he really wants to implement his style of play, those offensive rotations are something that was really obvious to me when doing my research.
Yeah. I think one other thing I want to touch on is that he also encourages center backs to move forward.
Yes.
So, like, that's what Mickey wants to do. That's what
Yes.
that Romero and Pedro would want to do if they were on. And so I think this is going to be very clear tactics that he will continue using. So it almost feels like Tottenham's bringing in a manager who has the ability to play with the players because their style is similar to a previous manager who brought in those players.
I agree with that. And I think ultimately I think their squad I can't even get that out. I think their squad lends itself to a back three anyway, and that's obviously what he prefers to play. I think ultimately, looking at that stylistic approach for the kind of centre backs running on, I think, like you said, I think they have really good profiles for that. They have like mobile, very fast centre backs. And during my like research of how he played or how he liked the centre backs to play, it was really obvious some of the positions that they were taking up higher up the pitch, especially when they had like sustained levels of possession. Really interesting to watch. I'm curious to see if he does try to implement that with Tottenham.
Yeah, I feel like he will be. And he has to just be cautious of being overzealous of those attacking shapes so that he doesn't get caught out. That is exactly what happened to Ange. Was caught out so often that he just couldn't, they'd have a lot of goals, but they concede a lot of goals as well.
Mickey Van de Ven's poor hamstrings is what I'm going to say. Fucking hell.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. And at times, like, Juventus fans were pretty frustrated for how overzealous his shape was in attack. It would lead to them getting countered a lot. And ultimately, I think that's why fans were kind of happy to see the back of him. That's his in possession structure. Let's talk about his out of possession structure. Yeah. I did mention just now like how aggressive he is, and I'll give you some statistics to cover that. Juventus, when he took them over, I would describe them as quite a passive team, and you could see that in the big changes in PPDA. His PPDA before Tudor, Juventus, was 16. After Tudor, so once Tudor implemented a style of play, it was 9, which is high.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So like you can see that he emphasizes a high, ultimately wants to play in a high block of really aggressive, high man oriented press. And you could see that at times for how effectively his Juventus teams would win the ball up high.
That is aggressive for Serie A. Very
yeah. Oh, yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah. I'd say ultimately a big of the focus they have is counter pressing, and that kind of leads to one of the attacking traits that you covered. They do like to play the ball up early, and what ends up happening is, let's say if you lose the ball once you've played it long, his team naturally holds a shape where they are able to actively press the back line of the opponent once they've lost it quickly to lead to good kind of high pressure regain situations. In terms of like the pressing approach, and we did mention this, so the one advantage of centre backs going forward is that they typically find a way to overload the defensive line with the offensive line. So if they do lose it, they are able to swarm the defensive line and get it back. They really like shadow cover approaches, and the way I would describe that is imagine you have a centre back on the ball, and there's a centre back to the right of him. The marker will make a curved run to the right, so the passing lane is covered, but at the same time, they're actively pursuing the ball player. He loves that, especially within those overloaded moments, from what I could see. I'll be honest, he seems like more of a transitional manager. I do go back to not many people would take this job in these circumstances. I think that is a big part of it. I think Tottenham's hierarchy have looked at it in the sense that if we can get a guy to play some aggressive attacking football and still keep us up, our supporters would be a bit happier going to the end of the season. And ultimately, he has pretty extensive experience. You know, he has been a manager since 2013. So I think they're hoping with all of those things as a package, he can end up keeping them up and playing some decent football. What's your take on this appointment, Ben? Is it similar to me? Do you think like ultimately they will end up, I mean, they're definitely going to end up replacing him, aren't they? And I'm really curious to see what they end up doing after Tudor's tenure, depending on if he can keep them up or not, I guess. But It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like. Just looking at his previous three teams, Marseille, Lazio, and Juventus, it looks like he had a 58% win at Marseille, with 1.8 points on average,
It's not bad.
55% at Lazio, 1.9 point average, 42% at Juventus, 1.6. That kind of dipped a little.
Yeah.
It's still not his worst, but yeah, I do agree. This is a very curious appointment. I think it if you're bringing a transitional manager, you're working on a transitional plan, and that's probably
Yeah.
what it is. Another side of this too is like some of these some of these players have kind of spoken out about ownership a
They
little bit
have.
more vocally, and so I wonder if they are really looking at a rebuild, and this is just the step one of a rebuild of like, okay, I guess we're going to do a transition to get this team across the line, and then next year we have another person in mind who's going to come in and potentially gut the team and bring in a whole new team. So that could be a part of their tactics here.
Here's a fun exercise. Off the top of your head, who do you think would suit their current squad next season? Can I give you mine? Ruben Amorim, man.
Yeah, I thought when Ruben Amorim left United, I actually thought that he could be going there. I actually thought that when Sean Dyche left Forest, he might be getting there too. And I was like, I do not want to be playing Dyche ball in the North London Derby. Thank everything in the world that it's not Dyche ball at the North London Derby.
But it's funny, like, I think we're downplaying how much Tottenham fans would hate Sean Dyche. Like, everything encapsulated in terms of the stuff that they hated from Thomas Frank. I think Sean Dyche is a bit more confident in speaking to the media. He approaches it in a different way.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can see a manager like Amorim doing pretty well there, honestly. Someone who is kind of suited to a back three system, plays like high press, aggressive football. I think that would be a good appointment for them.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've covered the game, Ben. I guess the last thing to do is score predictions. What do you think happens in terms of score for this game?
I'm going to predict a 2-1 in this game. I want it to be aggressive. I want it to be higher, but I don't think that Arsenal are going to get more goals than that. I think they will let one silly goal in. Yeah, 2-1.
2-1. Who do you think the Arsenal scorers are?
I think it's going to be Eza, and let's go with Gabriel. Gabriel likes to come out after an embarrassing game and do something big.
Okay,
Big
so
Gabby.
Eze, Gabriel, and then whoever ends up getting on the end of something for Spurs.
I think Owen's going to make a goal there for Spurs.
Okay. So my prediction is also positive for Arsenal. I think it's going to be 3-1. I can see, for me, Trossard scores a goal in this game. I think Declan Rice scores a goal in this game. And I think we're going to see Gabriel score from some type of set piece to make it 3-1. And ultimately, I expect, like I said earlier on, I expect Arsenal to be able to win this game comfortably. Cool. That's everything from us today, guys. Do you have anything else to add, Ben?
No, I appreciated doing this today. Sometimes football can be cruel, but it's always good to process it with your friends. So appreciate you having this conversation today, Jack.
Completely agree. I'd like to thank Rodney and Tyler for kind of guest starring on this episode. Thank you for your insight and everything. And we'll catch you guys next time.
All right.
Peace.